Well, welcome to the Friday devotional. John Miller here. And speaking of devotions, I don't know if you've ever read the story of Esther, but I would like to encourage you to read it in the New Living Translation, the NLT. It's very colorful and just kind of comes alive in a different way through. It says it's a translation. It's not. It's really a paraphrase. But but I think you'd really enjoy that. And also, you can do the same thing with Joseph in Genesis, and take that story of Joseph and read it through the New Living Translation. And it's just, if you've read through these before many times, let's say in some other translation, it's like a fresh perspective. Okay, we are in Ephesians chapter 6. And we're dealing here with verse 4. We talked about children obeying parents, and it's the first commandment with a promise that if children obey and honor their parents, then that promise is that things will go well with them and they will live long on the earth. And we talked about that last week. But today we come to the father's responsibility to be careful in his parenting, because we're to bring our children up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, the instruction and discipline of the Lord. But we're to do it in a godly way. And we are very human and get very exasperated with the sin nature in our children as they grow up. And God is saying through his word, be careful that your own sin nature doesn't show up when their sin nature shows up. So here's the injunction, the exhortation, verse 4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the nurture and discipline of the Lord, or discipline and instruction of the Lord. But notice what it says, don't do something. You're supposed to do something. Yes, you're supposed to be proactive in parenting. You don't just send them to school and let the school educate them, or their friends educate them. They will, but we need to be the primary educators in the area of ethics and morals and worldviews and all of that. So we're to be on task and see that as the most important job in the whole wide world. It's not our occupation. It's the raising of the children that God has given to us. But it says don't provoke. And I go over here to Colossians chapter 3. And there's a parallel passage. And here it says, husbands, or let me get down there. Verse 21, chapter of Colossians 3. Fathers, do not exasperate your children that they may not lose heart. Same idea. Don't exasperate them that they may not lose heart. See, our goal in training up and raising up our children, when they show that rebellious side, that attitude of no, I'm not, or they get angry and they do things they shouldn't do. Our job as parents is to break the stubborn self-will of the child, but not the spirit of the child. And there's a difference. We don't, in fact, using cutting, demeaning words breaks the spirit of a child. Anger and discipline can break the spirit of the child. And so we need to discipline in control of ourselves. It's got to be loving discipline, as our loving Father disciplines us. We feel it, it's painful. I don't want to mess up again because I don't want to experience that pain again. But I know my Father loves me. He's not going to let me get away with just rebellion, and he's going to be consistent in that discipline. Not going to let me get away with it one day, and then I get disciplined the next, and then I get away with it the next day. No, we need to be consistent in our discipline. But it's to be controlled. It's to need to be effective. but it needs to be loving as well. So there are times in my life in the raising of our 4 boys where I've had to actually go in and ask their forgiveness in terms of just my frustration and anger when they acted out. And I realized that I lost control myself and maybe said something or did something that was inappropriate for me as a parent. And I went in and confessed that and asked forgiveness, actually. I didn't ask forgiveness for disciplining the behavior because it was wrong, but in the way I did it, I had to say, you know what, that is not an example of a loving father. Anyway, I hope these thoughts are helpful to you. So we're just going to take the one verse today, and we'll take the next section next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.